Oh, no, that's mine.
You got my phone? Yeah.
What's the back?
Although it is a pure site, so that.
That's true. That's true. Are you working, Juju? You're the one, Juju?
Welcome everyone to our June 17th City Council meeting. We had a lively workshop tonight where we discussed a few things. One we'll have on the agenda later tonight, so we'll save that, but we also just wrapped up a discussion on commercial vehicle parking policy. So we're ready to move into our regular City Council meeting. Before we start with the Pledge of Allegiance, I am going to do something a little bit different here today, and I know that always makes Matt a little nervous. There were a couple of tragedies that happened over the weekend, and we're very fortunate. One of our council members, Councilmember Billings, was in Salt Lake City during the shooting that happened there, and we're so grateful that nothing happened to you or your mom. And I just wanted to give some time to Bonnie to talk about that experience.
Thank you. I just wanted to take a moment to talk about the events that happened over the past few days here in Utah and around the country. Shooting at the No Kings protest, we're still learning about, more about what exactly happened there, but it is clear that the impact of those moments were very real. An innocent man was killed, people were scared, I was scared, and for many it brought fears that are very present right now about what it means to show up in public spaces, to speak out, and to gather as a community. Then, not long after, a second shooting, this time at Westfest, a community celebration meant to bring people together. Lives were lost, others were injured, family and friends are now facing the unimaginable. And in Minnesota, 2 elected officials were targeted and killed, another seriously injured. And that kind of violence, especially when it touches people who've stepped up to serve their communities, is really unsettling. As a council member, one of the things I value most is when people show up, when this room is full, when residents speak their minds and share their stories and hold us accountable. That's democracy, and it's something that we shouldn't take for granted. We shouldn't have to wonder if it's safe to go to a festival or stand in a crowd or attend a meeting like this one. We shouldn't have to look over our shoulders just for doing our jobs and for caring enough to raise our voices. My heart is with the people impacted this weekend and with everyone who's feeling scared, angry, or exhausted by what's happening in the world right now. Our responsibility is great. We need to keep showing up and stand strong in our communities to make sure that they are places of belonging, safety, and care. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember, and again, we're so thankful that you and your mom, 2 of my favorite people, were safe and sound. So thank you, and I'm wondering if the audience would indulge us just to remember the victims from this weekend, just with a 20-second moment of silence. Thank you. All right, well, we'll try not to be so depressing moving forward, but, state of things that happened this weekend, confluence of events. But we'll start, as we typically do, with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll stand and repeat. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. Rory, will you see who is here?
Yes, Councilmember Robinson. Here. Mikalash. Here. Brown.
Here.
Billings. Here. And Glover.
Here. Okay, that is all of us. We are present and accounted for. Next on the agenda, something fun. Let's do something fun next. That'd be great. We're so happy to recognize in the audience tonight, let's see, there she is, Lucia de la Cruz Rodriguez, who was recently named the Canyon School District Teacher of the Year. So let's go ahead and give her a round of applause. So deserved. we're honored to recognize you here tonight. And for those who don't know, Lucia is Midvale Elementary's third grade Spanish-English dual immersion teacher, Canyon School District 2025 Teacher of the Year. And I just was informed earlier, this is interesting, her brother was a Teacher of the Year in Tooele. And so they will be facing each other for Teacher of the Year on September 5th, right? I think it's September 5th. So, yeah, that'll be an interesting family reunion this summer, next summer picnic. So, just some information that I picked up today. Lucia is originally from, and I'm going to try this out, San Luis Potosi, Mexico.
Perfect.
All right, what's my grade? C, solid C minus on that?
It's A. Perfect.
So as the dual immersion language teacher, I've been told that you incorporate a lot of cultural celebrations in your schoolwork, and I think everything that I saw from your students, past and present, is just the personality, humor, strong classroom management is what I heard a lot of, and also just leading by example, not just for your students, for your community. And I think that's very telling to why you were the Teacher of the Year in Canyon School District. So like I said, she will now represent all of Canyon School District at the Teacher of the Year Award on September 5th. We will be crossing fingers and toes for you. But I just want to say on behalf of the City of Midvale, thank you for what you do, your passion to teach the children who come into your class, also your courage to lead them and mold them into the children who will become the leaders of tomorrow. So we have a couple of tokens of appreciation. I was going to give some time to Councilmember Brown, who I think had a daughter who was in one of your classes, and that'll give me a good transition to come there and deliver some of these.
Thanks, Mayor, and I agree and echo everything he said, and I just want to say, I'll try this as well. As you're known in my house as Maestra de la Cruz.
Yes.
Did that sound close to the
Yeah.
right way? And I think Caroline was the only one that had your class. However, all three of my daughters very much look up to you. And we had a great presentation beforehand about, the group just slipped my mind, the Boulder Way Forward for empowering women and girls, and she's a perfect example of that. I'll get emotional talking about this. I'm going to try not to. And my mother-in-law, she really respects you. She's the secretary there, and it was really touching watching your nomination and to see Midvale rally to your support. And I really think you embody Midvale. Yeah. I really appreciate you. That's all.
Thank you, Brian. Brian gets emotional at these things. We love him.
I was getting emotional too, so.
And we'll give you, I want to give you a moment to say anything that you want, but just to show our appreciation, we have this nice succulent from Cactus and Tropicals, and also if you haven't been to the Bambino yet, best wood-fired pizza in all of Utah. But yeah, you can go right after the meeting. I think they're open until 8 or so. But also, so you're the first. I gave one of these out to one of our staff members yesterday, but you're the first member of the community who doesn't work for Midvale to get one of these new mayoral medallions, as we're calling them. I'm calling it that, but I don't know if that's going to catch on or not. But it's just a token of our appreciation from Midvale City for all you do for our students and for the school district. And best of luck on September 5th. I will try to be there if I can, but we'll be there with you in spirit. Yeah, if it's you or your brother, family affair. So congratulations. Thank you so much. Please, if you want to say anything, you don't have to. We don't want to put you on the spot, but we do want to get a picture with you and the council and me outside in the lobby, if that's okay. But if you want to say something.
Just something very short. I wasn't prepared, but let me. I just want to say thank you for giving me this moment. This means a lot to me. When I came here, I didn't expect finding this amazing place where I feel very welcome. And I have to say that Midvale is the place for me to be, because the people, the community, I was expecting on going back to Mexico in my first year. And as you can see, this is my 5th year and I am staying longer. So this community means a lot to me. It's given me the chance to express myself, to be who I am, to work with my kids, sharing with them not just knowledge, but love. And I think Midvale is the perfect place where we can learn and understand how important is this connection and building the community, and where everyone feels that they belong to this place, and starting for me. So thank you so much for this. It means a lot.
Thank you. Now, if everyone will excuse us, we're going to go out into the lobby very quickly for a picture, and we'll be right back. Okay, moving on to the next agenda item, we have a proclamation today recognizing Juneteenth, National Independence Day. So I'll go ahead and read that. You're looking at me, Matt? Oh, okay. I thought you had something. Sorry. So I'll go ahead and read the proclamation. Whereas Juneteenth, National Independence Day, observed on June 19th, commemorates the date in 1865 when enslaved African Americans in Galveston, Texas were informed of their freedom, more than 2 years after President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation. And whereas Juneteenth is a powerful reminder of the ongoing struggle for equity, justice, and dignity in our nation's history, and whereas the contributions, culture, and resilience of Black Americans have shaped the American story in profound and enduring ways, and whereas Midvale City values diversity, inclusion, and the pursuit of a more just and equitable society for all residents, recognizing that our strength as a community comes from acknowledging our full history and working together towards progress. And whereas in 2021, Juneteenth was officially recognized as a federal holiday by President Joseph R. Biden Jr., and is increasingly honored by municipalities and communities across the country as a day of reflection, education, celebration, and commitment to racial equity. Now, therefore, I, Dustin Gettle, Mayor of Midvale City, do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2025 as Juneteenth National Independence Day in Midvale City, and encourage all residents to join in meaningful reflection, celebration of freedom, and continued work towards a more inclusive and equitable future for all, adopted this 16th day of June 2025, that is signed by me, Mayor Gettle, and the entire City Council. So, thank you. Moving on to the next item. We are now accepting public comments. If there's anyone in the audience who would like to address the City Council, please step up now. You'll be given 3 minutes once the timer is up on the board, but I know you, Luke, will not take more than 3 minutes, but...
Hello, Mayor and Council. Thank you for hearing me out. I'm a member of the community. I'm also the secretary for the newly reformed Midvale Community Council. And in that capacity, I want to invite everyone here and all members of the community to attend our next Midvale Community Council meeting, which is next Wednesday, June 25th at 6 p.m. at the Ruth Fine Tyler Library. And we'd also love for you to participate in the Pearl Presents series. I don't know if that's for sure what we're calling it, but working with Dustin, we were able to come to an arrangement with the Pearl Theater downtown on Main Street down there. And starting July 7th, we're going to be hosting movie nights there. The first one for sure will be $1 admission, and then pay what you will as a donation to the theater for their fine service and helping our community. Hopefully we can get good attendance in that and come down and really unite as a community there. So, and the community council will be volunteering in whatever capacity we can to assist with that. And then, so that's all I wanted to say as part of the community council. In my capacity as just a person, I wanted to suggest that it would be great if the food trucks, especially during the summer months, included a cold option, like a frozen lemonade or something. I don't know how we negotiate or set those up, but I really would have enjoyed that today and most of the times I've gone there. And I think it would do very well. So, and then on a more serious note, I also was at the protest downtown when there was a shooting, and not to be partisan, but the reason for those protests and the reason I was there is because I see ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, violating people's constitutional rights to a habeas corpus, to be able to have a fair and just trial. And I would love if our city would take as much steps as we can to ensure that no members of our community have their constitutional rights violated, and especially that we don't allow or encourage our law enforcement to participate in violating of people's rights. I think that's really important. And as we know, immigrants are a really important part of our community, especially in Midvale. We've seen that with the teacher we honored here today, and I want to make sure that those members are protected from the Gestapo. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Luke. Would anyone else like to address the council?
Sorry, you're getting a double dose of community council people.
State your name for the record.
I'm Sue Armitage. And I'm Facebook friends with a few of you, and I notice when you come to parades, festivals, rallies, events, sports with kids or family, and I just want to say that I really appreciate seeing the people I respect and the people who are involved in our city as involved in the community, not because you're council people or a manager of this or a head of that department, but because that's who you are in real everyday life. And I appreciate that because I do that too, and I wish more people would do it. So I want to say thank you for the time you take to show up and get up at 7 on a Saturday, or, march down a street or wave a flag or whatever it is. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sue. Anyone else? Hello? Just please state your name for the record.
Chanel Hill. Good evening, council members. My name is Chanel Hill. I'm the founder and senior officer of Stand Against Fear and Exploitation, a 501c4 nonprofit based here in Utah. SAFE is a dedicated organization creating stronger legal protections for our communities, especially children, survivors, and those most vulnerable to harm. I'm here tonight to introduce a legislative initiative that SAFE is developed to respectfully request your support, not financial, but moral and civic. We are asking for a formal letter of support from the City Council in favor of the Sex Offender Registry Violation Accountability Act, a reform that has already gained a sponsorship in the current Utah House from a Utah House representative. The proposed legislation aims to do two essential things: strengthen penalties for registered sex offenders who violate terms of their registry or supervision, reclassifying those violations from misdemeanors to felonies when they knowingly enter areas like schools, parks, and daycares. Reduce recidivism by including trauma-informed reintegration support, including a 1-year transitional halfway housing program to assist eligible offenders, especially those who were victims before they themselves were offenders. In safety reentering society with structured therapy and oversight. We are not asking for funding. We are seeking for your support on paper. This paper will not have your name on it. It is all anonymous. It is a written statement saying that you will support our initiative going to the House and going to the legislative. It's a number, not anything else. Here in Utah, we have 11,000 registered sex offenders, and we are the #1 in the nation. In Salt Lake County, we have 8,000. That is 1 offender every 55 residents. The current penalty for sex offenders is 364 days in jail and $2,500 fine. That is not enough. We've got to have stronger penalties, because right now that is not mandatory. This law will make it safer for all of our children and all of our families, all of our victims, and all of our survivors. Please stand with me.
Thank you, Chanel, for your comments. Would anyone else like to address the council? Welcome, and please state your name for the record.
Yeah, my name is Grant Johnson. I've been in the area for about 3 years. Me and my wife, we bought a house in the neighborhood across from Mid-Valley Elementary, and we just welcomed our first son. He's 4 months old, and we love Midvale, and thank you so much for all you do for the community and all the time you spend to help make it better, and we love and appreciate that. I just would like to come and speak to you today because there is a nuisance property that's next to my house that has been a problem for about 5 to 7 years. It has a close to occupancy due to the health department. Just recently, there has been some break-ins there, windows smashed in, things stolen, and people squatting. And we know that there's been drug use before at this property. And so we're just looking for help from you guys. I've contacted the Salt Lake County Health Department. They kind of say that it's up to the city to enforce the codes for the house not having lawns mowed, it being a severe fire hazard, it having broken windows. And so I just wanted to give a little statistics on it. It's been vacant and posted close to occupancy for 5 to 7 years. It is closed because of imminent health hazards, things like meth contamination, sewage, toxic mold, structural collapse. The property has attracted criminal activity such as break-ins, theft, squatting, and suspected drug use. The owner has been contacted many times by myself and others in the community to try to warn her that things have been going on. She has been unresponsive. Her phone number it rings, it goes straight to voicemail, voice box is full. I went and spoke with over 30 people in the neighborhood and got signs for a petition that we could have something done about this. This is an ongoing issue, and all of these people would love to have some support, something done, whether that's more imposed fines so that the owner knows that this is an issue and goes to either sell the property, fix it up, or do whatever in her power. Do you have any questions? Sorry, you're looking. You have something you want?
Oh, I was strategizing.
Oh,
how
okay.
to
Yeah, thank you, I appreciate
Yeah.
that. I have pictures of it, and I have kind of like what I was giving you the statistics of. I'd love to give to the council, only have 5 printouts, sorry, I thought the council was 5, I didn't know. So any help that you could give, I've already contacted city code compliance, and I know that there's something being done, but I would love to push so that we can have a safer neighborhood for everybody who lives there, and we'd appreciate your support for all those neighbors who have been affected for so long. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And we were just discussing up here the best point person to have you speak to, and maybe our city manager has some thoughts on that.
Well,
Not
as
to
you
put you
said,
on the
I'm
spot, but
pretty sure, like you said, I know code enforcement has been out there, but Adam, I'm going to have you maybe go with Grant and as we're done here, and just connect with him to make sure we're going to be able to follow up on that with him.
Yeah, that'd be
Adam
awesome.
is the community development director.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. I appreciate
and Grant, feel free to reach out to me by
Okay.
phone or email if you want to talk more about the
Awesome.
project. And
We really appreciate that. I'll update the neighborhood that you guys have heard this, are receptive, and are willing to help, and I think everybody's going to feel a lot better. So, thank you.
thank you, Grant. Would anyone else like to address the council at this time? Going once. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to council reports. Starting us off, as always, is Councilmember Bonnie Billings.
Thank you. I just wanted to extend another congratulations to Ms. De La Cruz Rodriguez on Teacher of the Year for Canyon School District. We're really excited to have her in our community, and we wish her well in her efforts for State Teacher of the Year.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember. Next up, Councilmember Paul Glover.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. I've had a lot of people call me and comment on the murals, and they love them. So, good job there. And the whole activity, I think, was a success. I was out of town with the granddaughter's graduation, so I wasn't able to be here, but I've got a lot of feedback that it was a event that everybody seemed to enjoy. The other thing is mosquitoes are out. And the reason I bring them up again is because if you have mosquitoes in your yard or your neighbor or whatever, you can actually get online at the mosquito abatement and you can order services, and they will literally come out to your home and take care of your problems. So I've had several people call me. They know that I'm on the mosquito board, so it's like, what do I do? So that's what you do, is you order services and they'll come directly to you. That's all, Mayor.
Will they remove the dead one that's been on my windowsill for about 3 days now?
You have to go to public health for that.
Next up, thank you, Councilmember Glover. Next up, Councilmember Heidi Robinson.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to say thank you to all the city staff and all that participated in the Mural Fest. We truly can't have events like this if we didn't have all of the community and staff support. So I want to say thank you so much to everyone. I know a ton of work goes into it, so I really do want to extend my gratitude for that. And the murals look fantastic, so I'm unbelievably excited about them. Secondly, I kind of wanted to follow up on what Councilmember Billings said earlier, and I just wanted to say to people that I know it's scary right now, but please don't let that deter you from getting involved. And how you get involved can be on your community councils, it can be running for office, or it can be supporting an elected official. Like, whatever that looks like, don't let the fear deter you from getting involved, because that's when we're really, really get in trouble. So I just wanted to say that I appreciate everything that Councilmember Billings said, and please just stay involved. That's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember. Next up, Councilmember Bryant Brown.
Yeah, I also want to say that the festival, or whatever we call the mural festival, was a success. It was great. The Arts Council had this idea to do this chalk art thing, and I was like, oh, we'll see how that goes. And the location for where it was at and how they looked was amazing. So I want to make sure we keep that up. What was really cool is someone that lives over in the townhomes did one of the drawings, right? So we got a local, very talented. I thought that was it's such a cool thing about the festival. It's not just murals, right? There's just so much going on, and the staff just being willing to. I think we told Nate, like, hey, we have this idea, and like the week before practically. He's like, all right, we'll find a spot for it. And then we did, and it worked great. So, appreciate the staff and the community coming together. I think it's a great addition.
Yeah, and I try my best to avoid stepping on them now, so
Yeah.
I'm dodging those as well, but they look great. Thank you, Brian. Councilmember Brown, sorry. Councilmember Denise Mikalash.
I also volunteer at the Mural Festival, and big thank you to the staff. Did an amazing job, and thank you to all our vendors, the food trucks, Two Row, everyone. I was just so impressed by the turnout. One of the things volunteering is I got to talk to folks and give them directions of where the murals were, and I was amazed at how many people were not from Midvale and had made the effort from other cities to come see this. And I thought, isn't that great that they're coming here to see us showcase art like this and our murals and how vibrant the city is. So, again, great job all around, same thing. My last shout out is I want to say thank you to the fire department and the paramedics. I had to use their services 2 weeks ago, and they were so professional and gracious, and it made me realize how fortunate we are to have access to those services. The person who was on the dispatch, I didn't get their name, but they were so calm and supportive. I would be friends with them tomorrow based on everything that happened. But so I just wanted to say a big thank you to all of those services. I think sometimes we know they're there, but we don't realize in the time of need that we need them and how well they handle the situation. So big thank you to them.
Thank you, Councilmember. Moving on to the mayor's report, just a few things. So many of you have eloquently spoken about the political unrest, to euphemize it, that has occurred over the weekend. So thank you, Councilmember Robinson, for your words, Councilmember Billings as well. But we all stand united here in Midvale. We're a small community, we're a tight-knit community, and I appreciate also what Luke said about protecting those most vulnerable among us. So thank you for those comments as well. Moving on, just real quick, Luke also mentioned the Pearl Presents, which I think is what we might be calling our new summer movie series. I just wanted to add some comments we heard online was when you think about a summer movie series, you might think outdoors. And I think that is a valid point. So in talking to the folks at the Pearl yesterday, they were excited about the opportunity to sponsor one outdoor movie. We're trying to figure out the exact location for that, but we're actually considering somewhere on the east of State Street. So we have Union Park there. I see a county representative in the audience who we might talk to about getting that facility rented out. But we also have the fire station on Fort Union, which has a little park that most people don't even know exists. But we're looking to have at least one of those movies being shown outdoors, and I think that is a great idea. Being in Utah, though, it gets dark at 10 o'clock, so it is a little difficult. But we'll figure that out. It's going to be sometime in the late summer, maybe late August or September, I think is what we discussed. So very excited about that. One last thing, earlier today, my 7 a.m. once a month meeting, Unified Fire, we passed the final budget, and there were no big surprises as to what you guys have already seen. So I wanted to make sure you guys knew that, no last minute, oh yeah, and plus we need $10 million more. So that was a good process, and we'll do the same thing on Thursday, the UPD board meeting. I'll be happy to attend that as well. So I will report back to you if there's, and I don't anticipate, I'm staring at Chief Mazarin right now, don't anticipate any big surprises there either. So all of that said, we have a pretty long agenda tonight, so I will stop talking and hand it over to Matt Dahl, City Manager report.
Thank you. To start off with, I'm going to have Aaron come up and discuss the Safety and Security Improvement Reimbursement Program, grant program.
Council, Mayor, good evening. This reimbursement program is connected to our mitigation funding for this fiscal year, which we received from the state for hosting the shelter. This was a grant that this body passed to allow us to offer reimbursements to nearby businesses who experience impacts due to the proximity of the shelter. We had enough money for 10 grants up to 20 grand each, and we had 10 grants given out. We have reimbursed 9.5 of them. We're still waiting on some final receipts from the final grantee, and then we will have all of that money expended. It was just under $200,000. This program was really rewarding. It was the first in the state of its kind and was a pilot program. We were going to see how successful it was. Not only did we have so many businesses interested. In fact, I continue to answer calls of businesses who have found out about the grant and call me. I had one earlier this week. But this program also gave us a lot of opportunity beyond just the improvements that the businesses were able to make. A lot of businesses made improvements such as improving their camera systems, improving lighting, bathroom blocks, fencing, and a lot of these improvements made a really big difference for these businesses, especially our local businesses that don't have 20 grand that they can spend on improvements. This made some of these improvements possible, which allowed them to have safer businesses for themselves, their employees, and their customer base. But it also made it a more comfortable place, not only for our shelter residents, but for the community at large and for those who visit the 72nd corridor here in Mid-Val. We also experienced some unexpected amazing impacts, which included a lot of those businesses started to re-engage. We have a lot of those businesses looking for ways to participate. For example, KT Custom Exterior has been eager to participate in our mural programs and public art. They want to be a part of it, and they're right off across the street from the Overstock parking lot there. And they want to get involved and be a part. We have 3 different businesses who joined and are interested in participating in the Safe Cam program, which UPD runs, which allows their officers to ask if the businesses to review their footage whenever a crime or something similar happens, and those businesses are participating in that. We also had 5 different businesses reconnect not only with the shelter but with UPD. They are actively engaging in ways to be better community members and work with the systems that already exist, which means that they're happier, our residents are happier, and in general, we have partners in collaboration towards problem solving rather than feeling hopeless or helpless when they're facing some of the recurring issues that happen on their properties. This was a really valuable, most of the projects I get to work on are impactful. We get to do incredible work at Mid-Val, and this one is still one of my favorite projects because I had 10 businesses and many more who are looking for other ways to get involved really start to engage with us that I don't think we would have had that engagement otherwise. We have about 4 or 5 checks waiting for Mayor Gettle and I to deliver either tomorrow or next week. And I have received 5 follow-up thank yous to this council and to the city for offering this option. Next week, the 25th, whenever that happens, I have the opportunity to go before the State Board for Homeless Services and request, show our application for our shelter resource officers to continue funding that. And I will also get the opportunity to tell them how wonderful this program is and ask for the opportunity for them to either pursue a statewide program so that other businesses and other shelter communities can also be impacted this way, or for the opportunity for them to understand how wonderful this program is, and maybe we can receive funding again in the future to help even more businesses, since I have a wait list of 15 businesses who have said that they want to participate now that they saw 10 other businesses participate. If this council wasn't willing to pursue this, we wouldn't have been able to have this impact. So I wanted to give the final report so that you knew how far that $200,000 went and how meaningful it was for so many of our local businesses. Thank you.
Can I just interject real quick? Thank you, Aaron, for all of your hard work on this. This project has been kind of, from beginning to end, your project, and you really have made a difference. And I just have shown up sometimes to accompany Aaron to deliver checks. It's interesting how quickly businesses will pick up the phone or call you back when you have a check for $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000 for them. But beyond that, it's really made, as you said, quite an impact on those businesses, but also it's those partnerships like the Mural Festival. You know, that's maybe something that we would never have heard without touching base with the business. But there was also the one you'll remember. It was the trucking company who said that they want to use this money to become better partners with our Family Resource Center, and that was a very touching story to me, that it's creating those relationships that, you know, maybe those folks would never have talked in a meaningful way, and this is a way that, you know, I think that the work that you've done on this program has just enriched so much of this area, so thank you for all you've done.
Thank you, Mayor.
Back to you, Matt.
Thank you. The last thing is, in the past, we have looked at having one city council meeting in July, if that could work out. We do believe that we could get away with not having the July 1st city council meeting. So unless you really want that to happen, I think we can consider that canceled. Does anyone have any issues if we do that?
Good.
Okay, so we will only have the meeting on July 15th then. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, City Manager Dahl. Moving on, I have to check the clock. Oh yeah, we are well past time. Public hearing was noticed for 7 p.m., so we're good to go. We have one public hearing tonight. Public hearing with respect to A, the issuance of not to exceed $55 million of sales and franchise tax revenue bonds, and B, the potential economic impact that the improvements to be financed with the proceeds of said bonds will have on the private sector. And not surprisingly, to talk to us about this is Mariah Hill.
Yep, so just as a part of the bonding process for any bonds that the city plans to issue, we need to hold a public hearing and time for public comment. So this is for that. This is that for the sales and franchise tax bonds that we're looking to issue for up to $55 million. The projects funded with this are the purchase of existing park property, infrastructure, including work on Stagg Street and Center Street, which also include a road diet and a linear park. And then that's all.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Mariah or staff? I anticipated none as you were walking away. This is a public hearing, so I will entertain a motion from the council to open public comment.
Mayor, I motion that we open public hearing.
Second?
Okay, we do have a motion and a second. All those in favor of opening public comment for this item, please say aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay, if anyone from the public would like to comment on this item, the microphone is yours. Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to close public comment.
Mayor, motion to close public comment.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of closing public comment, say yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, public comment is closed, and there is not an action item associated with this. So FYI only. Moving on to the consent agenda, we have one item to consider the minutes of June 3rd, 2025. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mayor, a motion we approve the consent agenda?
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Rory, will you call the yeas and nays?
Yes, Councilmember Billings.
Yes.
Glover.
Aye.
Robinson. Aye. Brown.
Yes.
Mikuláš.
Yes.
Okay, that passes unanimously. We have a number of action items to consider tonight. First up, consider resolution number 2025 R36, encouraging and promoting the mission of the statewide initiative of A Bolder Way Forward to help more women, girls, and families thrive. Mariah is back up, and just for those in the audience who weren't here for the workshop, we did discuss this in detail in the workshop. I'm not sure how much more detail you're going to go into here for the public.
I'm going to do a little overview.
Okay,
So
great.
I'm here kind of in two hats in front of you guys tonight for this item, both as someone who works in Midvale and knows that they do a lot for women, and then also and girls, and then also as the co-lead for the local government committee for A Bolder Way Forward. So we talked about this in the workshop and had a more in-depth presentation, as the mayor said. But just an overview of A Bolder Way Forward is that research continues to show that women and girls are not thriving in critical areas in Utah. Utah has high levels of domestic violence, sexual assault, child sexual abuse, gender-based discrimination, and ranks poorly in women's equality, and there are low levels of women leadership representation both in business and in politics. And so to move the needle on some of these places where Utah is lacking, there's this organization called the Bolder Way Forward that is looking to just make change in every way and place possible. And so, and to make progress on making that change by 2030. If we did nothing, then it could take 30 to 40 years to see change, and instead we're trying to do that in 5 to 7 years. This is a statewide movement, like I said, I said in the workshop, if you want to be a little overwhelmed and also a lot impressed by all the ways and spaces that they're working on this, go visit their website, where you can also find a 15-minute video that kind of would give an overview of what we learned in the workshop and learn more about what they're trying to do. So I think Midvale is already an example in a lot of ways in helping women and girls thrive, and then this will help them be a leader by being the second city in the state and the first in Salt Lake County to adopt a resolution to become a Bolder Way Forward city and have that designation. And then beyond this resolution, there will be more. There will be more ways to figure out what resources we can get to our community, things we can do as an employer, and figure out just where we fit in this big movement. And so grateful that you guys are considering it, and happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments from the council?
Mariah, I like your enthusiasm.
Thank you.
I will just note, it should be mentioned, we had a very strong woman who was mayor of the city for multiple decades, and a council member before that, Joanne Sagini. As mayor of Midvale, a lot of the groups and organizations that I represent the city before still talk about Joanne Sagini and how much she meant to this county and to Midvale City. So we're one of the few cities at that time in the 90s to have a strong woman as mayor. And I would note on this council, 7 years ago, we had 0 women on the council, and today we have 3 women on the council. And further, our senior staff here, as I sit around the table for our senior staff meetings, it's very obvious that we have a great mix of men and women at that table, as it should be. And so I think, as was mentioned in the workshop, we at Midvale City are already doing a lot of this work. There's still a lot of work to be done, and being the first in Salt Lake County to do it, that's exciting, but being able to actually do the work now and get this designation is much more important. So I know there's probably some comments from the council, but I wanted to make sure we recognized the wonderful women who have led Midvale past, present, and future. And though she's not here, I did fail to mention our police chief, April Morse. I think one of only 2 women to be police chiefs in Salt Lake County, maybe. Okay, I'm getting a head shake back there. So, yeah, any questions or comments from the council?
I was just going to say, I was very impressed by the presentation. Some of those stats were shocking. And I think anything we can help any group, women or not, that does not have the opportunity to seek education, security, health, well-being, absolutely support. So I'm grateful for you to bring this to us and make this happen, and for us to be one of the 2 cities to do it. So this is a proud moment, proud workshop, proud meeting for me.
I agree with Councilmember McLash, and I'm really excited to be involved.
I'd just like to say, I'm glad to have these wonderful women on our council.
Yes, and thank you again, Mariah. I thanked you profusely in the workshop, but thank you for bringing this to us. It is definitely something that I think Midvale is uniquely positioned to lead the way on, and that excites me as mayor. I do want to mention in the audience, County Council Member Lori Stringham is with us, and I know that from the county perspective, you're not officially from the county council, but through the County Boulder Way Forward Coalition. So thank you for the work that you do for the residents in Midvale in your capacity as county council, but on this initiative as well. So with all of that said, this is an action item for tonight. There is a resolution in the package for the council to consider.
Mayor, I move that we adopt Resolution 2025-R-36 designating Midvale City a Boulder Way Forward city.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Sorry. Who are you going to give that second to, Rory?
I'm going to give it to Councilmember Robinson.
Okay. That makes sense.
I conceded anyway.
I know.
All right, sorry about that. Rory, will you call the yeas and nays?
Yes, Councilmember Glover.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Brown.
Yes.
Mikalash.
Yes.
And Billings.
Yes.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Congratulations to everyone. I think it's going to be a great thing, and can't wait to see what's next. We wanted to do a picture again. Are we doing it out on the?
Yes, we've set up a thing.
Oh, okay. Those in the audience, we will be right back.
I don't think that's the way it goes. But good try. Just to make sure. There you go. I totally agree.
After every
We'll be here till tomorrow.
I was agreeing with
Okay, just several more pictures and we'll be back. No, I'm joking. We're moving right along. We have all council here? Yes. Moving along, we have action item C, consider ordinance number 2025-011, approving a zoning code text amendment to amend section 17-7-10.12.1 and 17-7-10.
You missed one.
Skipped one.
Oh, but I wanted to do that one.
They want a picture too.
We wanted the one with Kane, we wanted the one with Kane to go all the way to the end, so Kane had to experience the full meeting again. That's what we were.
I
promised they'd be early,
Let's put a pin in that one. Action item B, consider resolution number 2025-R37, authorizing the approval of the second amended and restated interlocal agreement creating Trans-Jordan Cities dated December 1st, 1995.
Okay.
Glenn.
So, good evening, Mayor, Council. As you are aware, Midvale is a member of Trans-Jordan Cities, who handles our solid waste. There is a request by Harriman City recently to join Trans-Jordan. Sounds like they're going to council June 25th? June 25th, but they're very much in favor. We've got Jaron Scott here. He's the executive director of Trans-Jordan. We've got Craig Hall, who's the facility attorney. And I'm sure most of you know Kane Loader. He has served on that board since 1996. How long have you been chair? 96. He's been chair since 96?
No, I can't do that one. I don't know. Before my time. At least 15.
Since the 1900s.
Decades.
I just assumed he was born chair.
That's right. And Jaron has put together a PowerPoint. I'm going to let him go over it. He'll be better at answering the technical questions, and it'll go over the process and the benefits of Harriman joining. The last slide is a suggested resolution if you decide to move forward. And I am going to ask to suspend the rules this evening to expedite the process, seeing as how you canceled the July 1 meeting.
Welcome, Jaron. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me. Jaron Scott, Executive Director of Trans-Jordan Cities. Can I use this to guide? Will that control that? Great. I'll go quickly, and then if you have questions, we'll go from this. This is exciting for us. We haven't had a new member since 1997. As you know, we are represented by 7 cities, and I can go through those here in a minute. This would make 8. Makes us a stronger organization. I'm going to go through that. I just left Sandy City Council and did the same presentation to them and talked about the same issue. And they asked one question, which was, what's the negatives? And we haven't come up with one yet. So just to preface everything with that. So in front of you here is just kind of the history of Trans-Jordan. Formed in 1958. You can see in 1960 is when Midvale joined. So you've been a member of the organization right from the first, 2 years after Sandy and West Jordan formed the organization. In 1968, Murray joined. In 1996, we were annexed into South Jordan. South Jordan City joined. In 1997 was the last 2 cities, Riverton and Draper. The agreement for Harriman to join is almost identical to those. The only difference is the amount of value of Trans-Jordan and how much they have to pay to join. 2025 is going to be a big year for us. We're really excited about the Sandy Transfer Station opening. That'll be here end of July, 1st of August, and you'll all be invited to come down and see that beautiful facility and what it's going to offer the residents and just all of the new technology and everything. We're so proud of having that. So thank you for support on that. And then in 2025, again, Harriman joining, big deal for us. So Harriman Solid Waste, they've always taken their waste to Trans-Jordan. This doesn't increase our flows, but they've never been a member. They've never had a voice in saying what they're doing. They recently put out an RFP because they're frustrated with their collection costs are skyrocketing. They're members of Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling, and they're doing about a 30% increase this year. So they said, wait a second, let's go see what our options are. They went out to RFP, and part of that was to see where their waste could go. They do about 20,000 curbside tons and about 14,000 resident visits to Trans-Jordan. They are right next to us there, obviously, so their residents and their businesses use Trans-Jordan a lot. So we started discussing the possibility for membership, and the board has unanimously supported the move, and that's why I'm here before you today. If they didn't go to Transjordan, went somewhere else, we would lose 20,000 annual full commercial rate tons of revenue. Would we allow those resident visits? Because those are our most expensive visits, no question. We make our money based on tonnage, and with the residents, they pay the minimum $15 fee. That's not where we make money. We actually lose money on most of those transactions because it takes longer to talk to the public and to educate them, show them where recycle bins are, all that kind of stuff. But that's really important talking to Harriman, is they want a place for the residents to go, and as you know how quickly they're growing and how big they have more land in the valley than any other city, to my knowledge, as far as development is concerned. So they're really needing a place or a home. Both the above issues would drive up costs if they left with their commercial tonnage, and we continue to allow their residents to visit the facility. There would have to be something done there. Let's see. Benefits are to continue to receive Harriman waste now and in the future, keeps costs down to all members. Economies of scale are such in waste. If we have more waste, we can keep the cost down to the residents of Midvale. Gives Harriman residents a place to take their waste. Both the above become more important as they grow, as I mentioned, and it reduces pollution. Big thing with the Sandy Transfer Station is the traffic studies. We did 2 very in-depth traffic studies, reducing the overall pollution from the trucks having to drive all the way out to Transjordan and back. We can consolidate all that and reduce those 400 trips per day at minimum. So this is also a big deal because Harriman is right next to Transjordan. It makes perfect sense for them to come out and be a member and have their residents have access. An additional city would make them a total membership of 8, and those are 8 strong cities. All the cities are run fairly strong and are great cities and have been great partners. Transjordan valuation as of the end of 2024 was $44,161,910. Similar to South Jordan, Riverton, and Draper joining, they're to pay the full commercial tipping rate, and the difference between the full rate and what the city pays is $15 a ton. That is put towards their buy-in. So they have to pay the full rate for an additional approximately 14 years in order to pay that $5.5 million. We're not expecting them to come up with that money right up front, but they will pay that over a long period of time. Part of that also is 4 $100,000 deposits, July 1st of 26, 27, 28, and 29. It's about 7%, similar to what Riverton, Draper, and South Jordan paid when they joined. We tried to structure that the same. Here's the estimated payment schedule. They would be paid in about 14 years' time, the principal sum retired. If they didn't pay that off in 15 years, it would be forgiven the remaining amount. This is only a 3% growth rate. We believe they will far exceed this amount with the growth that we're seeing in Harriman City. We are formed by an interlocal agreement, and that's what's in front of you today, is the amended version of that. All 7 cities, Draper, Midvale, Murray, Riverton, Sandy, South Jordan, West Jordan, need to pass the exact same amendment allowing Harriman City to join. And so that is the proposal, or excuse me, the resolution before you today, is to allow Harriman to join as the 8th city of Transjordan. These last 2 slides are just the commitment that we have to our member cities, as well as some of the options that we do as the integrated solid waste management. I've presented those to the board, to the council and mayor before. I won't get into those, energy generation and all the other things we do, more than just a landfill, or like people like to say a dump. We don't like the word dump because we spend millions of dollars to engineer a facility, take care of it environmentally, and do the right thing. And we're proud of what we do and excited to have Harriman join. Is there any questions for me on what's before you today?
I have a question.
You bet.
First, I want to say I stupidly thought the transfer station was opening this week and not sort of the same time for July. So I filled up my truck and had to drive it out to your facility this morning. And your employees are great. Every one of them.
Good.
As nice as I can say about a landfill, I will. And seeing that cell that's open next to 6 is ridiculously huge. It's going to be interesting. So my question is, once that's full,
Yep.
will Harriman, are you putting a transfer station in there? Will Harriman, I don't want them trucking it to Sandy.
Correct, they won't.
Okay, that was my question.
So let me just speak to that a little bit and hopefully I can answer that question. So the 4 eastern cities, Midvale, Murray, Sandy, and Draper, will use the Sandy facility. The 4, if Harriman joins and is allowed, based on what your approval tonight, part of that, it would be West Jordan, South Jordan, Harriman, and Riverton would use the facility at Transjordan. So we're on the docket with South Jordan. I've already talked to their council many times. We're going to build a facility out there, probably a little larger. We're going to limit the size of the vehicles that can go to the one in Sandy. So Harriman being a member would help pay for that facility, also keep the burden off of the backs of Midway residents who are paying for the use of the facility there in Sandy. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's great. I generally like the idea of the transfer station because, again, I went out. It's such a trip. I am a little concerned that and we'll manage it, that there'll be sort of a critical mass of maybe trucks in that area at first that some residents, because it's right on the border of Midvale, we'll have to get used to. And I just didn't want to add another city's potential to that if
They won't come over there, and I don't see them having any desire to pass Transjordan and then pay additional more money at the transfer station. Doesn't make any sense.
Agreed.
And the improvements at 7th West and 90th South are going to be great. We were all kind of partners with that project, and I think those are really going to help that congestion right there. Most trucks will come in and off of 90th South to access the facility, and the big trucks actually come off of 5th West, so they're using a completely different access, which is great.
Cool.
So
appreciate it.
Yep.
Jaron, I have a
Yes.
question. It might mean you have to look into your crystal ball.
Okay.
But first, the work you guys do, amazing. Like, it is a first-class landfill. I'm wondering, because you've been before us before talking about how quickly the landfill is filling up, and it will reach its end of life sooner than later. With Harriman being probably one of the fastest growing cities in all of Salt Lake County, how does that speed up that timeline of end of life for the Transjordan landfill?
It's already been calculated because we're getting their tonnage. This new development of them looking for other services would reduce that, so we would have approximately, 3 or 4 months of additional landfill space if they decided to leave. Honestly, we have 7 years left. And we do about 420,000 ton a year. They do about 20,000 ton a year. So not a huge majority by any means. They are going to grow. We do own, however, the largest landfill in the state, which is the regional landfill Baby that I've told you about. Over $1 billion in airspace down there and over 100 years of landfill space. And I think that'll get even better based on manufacturers doing better packaging. We're able to divert more. We're able to recycle more. We're behind a few years what Europe and some of the other places are doing, but I think we'll see that catching up.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
I'd like to also, you guys do a great job. I was in Denver a couple months ago with my daughter, and I cleaned up her yard and had to go to the dump, okay? And this was a dump. This dump.
It met the definition, okay.
This dump cost me $100 for a pickup truck that had maybe 100 pounds.
Yeah.
And the people next to me had flat tires because there was nails everywhere, and I was wondering if I was gonna get out of there without a flat tire, so. You guys do a great job.
Thank you. Yeah, costs in Utah we keep them as low as we can. We are one of the best run and cheapest as far as keeping cost to the residents down. You go to any neighboring, Nevada, California, Colorado, for example, you're about 5 times the cost for an average resident to go to the landfill. Yeah. So, good questions.
Any other questions or comments from council?
Okay.
I want to say, again, I'd be remiss not to thank Kane Loader for his service on the Transjordan board. I believe August, from what I'm hearing, is going to be your last meeting? Okay. Well, 28 years or so, 29 years, we thank you for your service to Midvale City and on this board in particular, even after your retirement. What we're in year 3 or so now of retirement, but still representing us on the board. Your experience and knowledge has been invaluable. We would like to welcome you back. So we'll probably reach out to you. We would like to recognize your service on the board at a future council meeting. So you have to come back at least one more time to a council meeting where we'll, probably shower you with gifts.
Thank you for allowing me to serve. I really enjoyed my service on that board, and we've accomplished a lot over the years. And, as Jared points out, when we go to these conferences.
Okay, you have to come up to the microphone. Sorry.
He was trying to.
You should know that.
He knows the rules.
Rory's been wanting to put Kane in his place for years, so.
I should know that. She had to remind me years ago too, so. But as we go to the conferences, the Solid Waste Association of North America, and we talk about our rates here in Utah for dumping our garbage. They about fall off their chairs when we tell them what our rates are, our tipping fees are. And one of the reasons I think and I feel is that we've done a good job as government officials. We've not allowed the private sector to they have their niche here in the state, but for the most part, our landfills that handle municipal waste are handled by government entities. And I think we've done a great job with that. And as long as we can continue to do that, we can keep our rates down in this state, and we'll have a good deal here. But I just want to tell the mayor and council, thank you for the opportunity of serving an additional 3 years. I wanted to see the transfer station completed, and this one, you know, over 10 years ago, I remember talking to Brett Wood, who was the city manager of Harriman at the time, and saying, you guys really need to look at joining Transjordan and buying into Transjordan, similar to what Riverton and South Jordan and Draper did. And they had no, he said, we're doing great, we're doing fine. And I kept telling him, you want to be in control of your own destiny. And that's what Midvale's done. And that's what the other cities have done. As far as solid waste, we're in control of our own destiny here. And as long as we're in control of our destiny, we will be in control of the cost. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kane. We appreciate it. And for those in the audience who are like, why are they so nice to this guy? Kane was our former city manager for many years in Public Works in Midvale City before then. So we always appreciate seeing him and welcome him back with open arms. Glenn, it's back to the microphone.
Sorry, yeah.
No,
I just want to echo a thank you to Kane and Jaron and Craig, honestly. Garbage is in a very, very good spot. My guess is that the dump that you went to was privately owned.
Iowa City.
Was
it? Was
it?
terrible.
But yeah, they've done a really good job. It's a very well-run facility, and we are set for a long future in a very good place. So if there are no other questions or discussion, I am asking to suspend the rules, and the suggested motion is available.
Thank you, Glenn.
I have a question about not for you, probably for Garrett. It's worded like very differently, where it like dates the interlocal agreement and stuff. Do we have to say that, or can we just read what he wrote? I'll do either one. I just want to make sure we're correct.
We have the legal counsel for Transjordan here, so I'll defer to him of how he wants that done.
Also, you know, I'm Craig Hall, and counsel for Transjordan. I'm comfortable with that motion, Glenn. It accomplishes what we need. We're approving the second amended interlocal agreement. You'll be the first city to do so, and we'll have 7 more to go here in the next couple of weeks. Our goal is to get it done by July 1st for a number of practical reasons, fiscal and otherwise. So I'm comfortable with that.
Thanks. I'm very annoying about some things. I just want to make sure. Matt shook his head yes. I said that. So I appreciate
He is. Thank you, Craig.
Yeah, I got you, Matt. Mayor, I move that we suspend the rules and adopt resolution number 2025-R-37, authorizing the mayor to sign a second amendment and restated interlocal agreement allowing Harriman City to become a member of Transjordan Cities.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Rory, we call the yeas and nays.
Yes, Councilmember Robinson. Aye. Brown.
Yes.
Mikalash.
Yes.
Billings. Yes. And Glover.
Aye.
Okay, that passes unanimously, and it's the second time today. Midvale is the first to do something. We are the first to enter into this interlocal agreement, so we will not be taking a picture for that unless there is some appetite. Okay, moving on. The next item, the one I was jumping at to get to, we will actually consider this time. Consider ordinance number 2025-011. Johnny is up. I'm not going to read that again. I read it before, and one of the council members will probably read it during their motion.
So this was before you guys 2 weeks ago for a text amendment that was tabled. I won't dig too much into it, but the development agreement has been signed. I've got the motion up here for you, and Dave from Gardner's here if you got questions.
Okay, that was the most efficient presentation I've ever seen.
And the development agreement is the same as we talked about.
Yes. Okay. Do you want to say anything? You don't have to if you don't want, but you're here.
Dave Dennison, Gardner Group. I appreciate 2 weeks ago kind of getting the details out, and we're just excited and to get this portion done so we can get working on our large-scale master plan. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Any other questions or comments from council for the developer or staff? If not, the motion's on the board.
Mayor, I move that we approve ordinance number 2025-011, amending section 17-7-10.12.1 and 17-7-10-12.5 of the Midvale City Municipal Code as provided in the attachments with the finding noted in the staff report.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Rory, we call the yeas and nays.
Yes, Councilmember Brown.
Yes.
Mikulesh.
Yes.
Billings.
Yes.
Glover.
Aye.
And Robinson.
Aye.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Moving on, let's make sure I don't get ahead of myself here. Okay, action item D, consider resolution number 2025 R38 approving the First Amendment to development agreement for the Aaron by signature. Elizabeth, the First Amendment has already been approved. It's in the Constitution. But we'll do this
Okay,
one.
I will be brief, and I'll admit this is a little out of my area of expertise, so hopefully Garrett will chime in if you have any questions. But basically, in the original development agreement, there was some verbiage about the plat being recorded as a condominium plat, and the amendment suggests that this instead not have that verbiage and instead be a homeowners association plat, which does have different requirements at the state level for requirements that the recorded plat has to meet. And from my understanding, that has some different financing implications for the developer, and it will help with the development of it, but doesn't impact any of our previous land use approvals or anything like that. Thank you.
All right, another very efficient presentation. Any questions for Elizabeth or staff? Okay, seeing none, I do see the developer in the audience. Is there anything you want to say to this? You don't have to. Okay. All right, there is a motion for the council to consider.
Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number 2025-R-38 approving the First Amendment to development agreement for the Aaron by signature.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Rory, we call the yeas and nays.
Yes. Yes, excuse me. Councilmember Mikulesh.
Yes.
Billings.
Yes.
Glover.
Aye.
Robinson. Aye. And Brown.
Yes.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Let it be known that Midvale has approved the First Amendment to the development agreement. Moving on, action item E, consider resolution number 2025 R39 adopting the fiscal year 2026 Midvale City Municipal Fee Schedule and Utility Rates. Mariah.
Yeah, I'm just going to run through this really quick so you can remember what the changes were that we're making to the fee schedule. This is a part of our annual budget process to make sure that our fees are in line with what they cost the city to provide the services. So we are removing the Dahl conference room rental we don't do that, so we're just taking that off the fee schedule. In our community development fees, we are removing the MPD preliminary and final fees, adjusting small and large scale master plan fees, removing the administrative conditional use fee for chickens and apiaries, removing the preliminary site plan fee, adding development review committee fees, and adding a noticing fee per address. In the utility rates, there was a resolution passed in 2021 that had a 5-year rate increase for our water and sewer. We're increasing rates based on that, approximately 8% for water and sewer. And then we've had 3 different rate structures for our 3 different water areas. This one puts us all at the same rate across the board. So my staff will be happy with that. And then we also are increasing garbage and recycling by 2% respectively. And that is really great with all the changes with our new ACE contract and Transjordan. We've really been able to keep that low. And then one change from what was presented to you for the public hearing is we did include a $75 can replacement fee. So if somebody loses their can and really isn't willing to go look for it, then it costs. So it's a weird thing that happens in my department that they deal with. And then other utility rate changes are to hydrant meters. The increase of the meters have increased, so we're increasing that deposit, and then some other fees associated with the rental and tracking of those fire hydrant meters. Any questions?
Any questions for Mariah?
Oh, I didn't have a motion on this one, but it is in your packet.
Are we ready for a motion?
Yes, if you would like.
Mayor, I
for
move
it.
that we adopt Resolution 2025-R-39 adopting the fiscal year 2026 Midvale City municipal fee schedule and utility rates.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Rory, we call the yeas and nays.
Yes, Councilmember Billings.
Yes.
Glover.
Aye.
Robinson. Aye. Brown.
Yes.
And Mikuláš.
Yes.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Remaining at the microphone for the next action item, consider resolution number 2025-R40, approving budget amendments to the fiscal year 2025 general fund and other funds as necessary.
Yep, so it really is just to the general fund. This was presented to you a couple weeks ago as well. There is one change from actually what was even in your packet. I did one more review today as new expenditures are showing up in this year's budget. So we did include the change for the Harvest Days float update that we did. So that's a $12,000 increase from even what's in your packet. But I think because the motion says as Rory told me it says as presented, then this can count as what we're adopting. But it is a change as before, just some changes because some unexpected expenses in IT that we needed to cover, some of the election costs that we needed to pay this fiscal year, some professional services in the attorney's office, and then the weird things we have to do with the Harvest Days because of when they pay for things versus when it actually is, and then just had misbudgeted the animal control contract by about $6,000. Any questions?
Any questions for Mariah?
I did have a motion on this one.
Okay, if there are no questions, the motion is on the board.
Mayor, I move we adopt Resolution 2025-R-40, amending the fiscal year 2025 budget for the general fund as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Rory, will you call the yeas and nays?
Yes, Councilmember Glover.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Brown.
Yes.
Mikuláš.
Yes.
And Billings.
Yes.
Okay, that passes unanimously. And as I recall, Mariah is going to do the next two action items together, but we will have two separate roll call votes at the end of presentation. So first up, consider resolution number 2025-R41, adopting the certified property tax rate of Midvale City for the calendar year 2025 and levying Midvale property taxes upon all real and personal property within the corporate boundaries of Midvale City, Utah for general operations. And I will just read, so it's on the record, ordinance number 2025-012 proposing levying a Midvale City public safety property tax for calendar year 2025. Mariah, take it away.
Yeah, it's hard to talk about one of these without the other, so I just decided to do one presentation for both, and then we'll have both action items. So just a timeline on the budget and the many months that we have been talking about where we are right now. So we held a budget and strategy workshop with the council on March 20th of 2025, where we first presented this idea of a public safety property tax and talked about kind of how that would work, not knowing numbers around it exactly, but just kind of the general concept. And then it was presented in the tentative budget, which you adopted on May 6th of 2025. We held a public hearing on the tentative budget and the idea of the public safety property tax and the new special revenue fund on June 3rd of 2025. Today we are putting before you the certified tax rate and the proposed public safety property tax, and then you will schedule, when you adopt this, the public hearing for August 19th for the truth and taxation process for the proposed public safety property tax and adopting the final budget. So if anyone is hearing about this for the first time, this idea of a public safety property tax, it's not the council's first time hearing about it. For sure. All right, so just an update on the budget. I'm not doing a whole budget presentation because there have been no significant changes from the presentation that I've given you. Although there's been these minor summary of changes I'm going to go over, really the finances are at the same place as they were as we presented them in the tentative budget. So some of the changes that have occurred from the tentative to where the budget is at right now is that we did have a decrease in the homeless mitigation funding we were projecting we would receive. We received the certified tax rate, and so that's been included in the budget now. We removed the 3% COLA placeholder that we had and put in our 2.4% COLA, which is what we'll propose to adopt, which is the May Western CPI. And then we've got some actual insurance costs for property, vehicle, workers' comp, and that affects kind of all across because of the way we put out the vehicle insurance to the different departments and workers' comps, things like that. And then there was a slight increase in the UPD budget from what was presented in the tentative budget. The final budget will also, when that's presented to you in August, will include updated revenue projections. At that point, we'll have 2 more months of actual data, which will help me make sure that our revenue projections are just based on better numbers. And then because it's this really weird thing to adopt the certified tax rate and then also propose a tax rate, and that's why this is all kind of funny, but because we are proposing to go into truth and taxation for any tax that the city imposes, that pushes the deadline for adopting the final budget for the entire entity to September 1st. So that's how that works. We didn't need to adopt a final budget for the general fund or anything like that. So for the 2025 tax year information that was finalized by the county auditor, we have a total taxable value of about $3.8 billion. We did have some new growth of about 10.9 million. The average Midvale residential value increased to 492,000. It really is 492,100, but for all the tax purposes, we round that. So 492,000, which was a 4.5% increase from last year, and has the average taxable residential value at 270,600. So the certified tax rate, this is for the calendar or tax year 2025. This is a little confusing because our fiscal year is offset from that. So this is for 2025. And the Midvale City property taxes, which is what this certified tax rate for, is for the general operations of the city, and it's the funds that will go into the general fund specifically. So the certified tax rate is 0.00918. That tax rate is technically decreased from our current tax rate because of the way our certified tax rates our taxable value increased. So to keep our revenue the same, they decrease our property tax rate. So our property tax revenue that will be budgeted for fiscal year 2026 is just about $3.5 million. This does include new growth of just about $10,000. This is kind of one of those numbers that I deal with, that it's like, which one do I use? Because from our budgeted revenue from fiscal year 2025, it's only about a $4,000 increase, but from the way they make their adjustments on the tax and what we've collected and all these different variables, it is $10,000. But if you look from last fiscal year's budget property taxes, it's only a $4,000 increase. But we did have a little new growth, which is better than last year. So there's no change on what the average residential value, the cost annually would be to those households for the Midvale City property tax. It's just under $250,000, $250 annually. Sorry. I gotta stumble over at least one number when I'm saying them all. Okay, so then to shift into, does anyone have any questions on the certified tax rate? Okay. I've talked way more to the tax commission way more than they wanted me to. When I realized we have to adopt this because we're not changing this tax, we have to adopt the certified tax rate, but also go into truth and taxation is a little bit of a funny thing, and we've been working it out together. So when it comes to the public safety property tax, what we're proposing is creating a new special revenue fund for fiscal year 2026 to house all public safety related revenues and expenses. In fiscal year 2026, it will be funded by a transfer from the general fund for 97% of what our current UPD cost is and public safety cost, and then a proposed new Midvale public safety property tax. The expenditures in this fund will be our animal control contract, our UFA emergency manager contract, UPD, and then a few minor miscellaneous things. UPD was originally presented to you in the tentative budget as a 3.44% increase, which was $445,000, and then it actually is going to be adopted at 3.46% increase, which is $473,000, so about a $29,000 difference. And they're adopting that on Thursday, their final budget. Some other notes about the public safety property tax is that it really has been a weird strain on the general fund, and so breaking this out and putting it in a separate revenue fund is going to kind of help us kind of split those things apart and make it more transparent to the public of when taxes are raised specifically for UPD, that will show on their property tax notice. And the city is allowed to levy this tax by Utah Code 10-6, tax 133.4. the revenues that are generated by this tax will go into a special revenue fund, and they must be used only for the service that is dictated in the ordinance that's before you tonight. The same truth in taxation process applies, where we have a very specific notice to send out, and we have to hold a public hearing, and then obviously we'll have public education about what's going on with this as well. And then if the public safety property tax, for whatever reason, is not adopted after the truth and taxation process in August, then we will be left in this really difficult position where we'll have to increase the transfer from the general fund, and we'll have to make offsetting cuts to the general fund expenses. Because we've set the certified tax rate, we don't have room to change that tax rate. Here's just a look at what somebody's full Midvale property tax notice would look like, and kind of what we're proposing. The budget includes $940,000, just over, to be generated by this new public safety property tax. It will be a separate line on their tax notice. This funds the fiscal year 26 UPD increase, and then 3% of the fiscal year 2025 UPD budget. This will be an increase of just over $67 annually on the average residential value of $492,000. So just some notes on the truth and taxation process. You guys are considering adopting a proposed tax rate tonight. That moves us into the truth and taxation process. We have to do some very specific noticing in newspapers, which ends up being trickier than you think, because it's got to be a week before and 2 weeks before a public hearing, and nobody reads the newspaper anyways, but here we are. That's what the state code requires. So because we won't be the only entity in Salt Lake County raising property taxes, the county does a combined notice. They usually do 2 of those, so it exceeds the statutory requirements. They do that in the Deseret News and the Salt Lake Tribune, and those will happen at the end of July, early August, that they do those. It's a list of everyone raising taxes. And then we will do our own notice a week before the public hearing, and that is usually in the Salt Lake Tribune, and I think it will be August 10th. That's the paper that's distributed the week before we hold our hearing. We also have our ads placed on multiple websites, and this is just what's statutorily required. We have another plan as well, and then our public hearing agenda will only be able to address our tax increase, the budget, and our pay plan when we hold our public hearing, and the public hearing is set to be August 19th at 6 p.m. It can't overlap with any other entities that are on a Midvale residence property tax bill, so that's the night we are scheduled to do it. The public notice has very code-specific wording, but as I've said, being best friends with the State Tax Commission, we're trying to figure out the ways that they feel comfortable that we can make changes where it says instead of Midvale City, it can say Midvale City Public Safety Property Tax and things like that. So I'm working with them, and after you would adopt this tonight, we'll be getting that hammered out. It also needs to include the amount of the increase on the average resident and business, the % increase in our overall budget. This will be a bit of a challenge because this is a new property tax, and there actually mathematically isn't a % increase from 0. So that's kind of something we have to decide is if how the wording is able to be changed, we can make sense of that. If it doesn't make sense for it to say 100%, or is it better to say the % of the Midvale property tax has to be determined once you guys adopted that tonight. And then we'll also have the public hearing information on it. And then as far as just a communication plan outside of what is statutorily required, we need to finalize the notice wording to make sure that our message is consistent and the numbers we're using are correct across the board. And so once that's done, then the mayor, Matt, Laura, and I will be sitting down to really make a plan for the next 2 months to make sure that we're getting the information out to the residents in all the ways that we need to outside of what's statutorily required, to make sure that they understand what's going on, why there will be a new tax on their bills, and that will be specifically tied to public safety. So, any questions?
I just want to say thank you to you and your team for approaching us with this new idea and a new way of tackling this. And I think once we do the education and messaging to the community, they'll understand the benefits of it. So just big thank you working through this because I know it's a new thing for us.
Yeah, writing the resolution in the ordinance, I was like, I don't know, there's no examples to follow, but let's see what we can figure out, yeah. Yeah.
But when we were done, we were very confident that that was the right.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
How does it work? I know, we've done this in past, but
Yeah.
the pay raises for employees, does that go till we start in August? or-
Yeah, so we have liked to not, so although the state code says we can operate off the tentative budget or what's been presented before you, we feel the most comfortable just waiting till the final budget is adopted. And so then once it is, we'll put that in place. But it is budgeted for the whole year. And so after the final budget's adopted, we go back and back pay people as if they had been getting the raise since July 1st.
I just wanted to clarify what was happening.
Yeah.
Mariah, what percentage of the public safety property tax do you think is exclusively UPD? I can imagine that being a question in the future because you mentioned it includes the.
So that's how it came to the number, is that it's 3% of the 2025 UPD budget. And then, and that is helping so that we're taking the burden off of the general fund, right? So by making up some of what the general fund has been covering, that helps it so the general fund doesn't have to raise taxes as well. And then the UPD increase, but like, are you asking?
Yeah, let me ask that again.
Okay.
So if we have a public safety property tax and the total is, what was it, 14 or so?
The total budget?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's over 14 and a half.
So you mentioned, as it says here, animal control, UFA, UPD, and minimal miscellaneous. So if someone were to ask us, how much of this is just UPD?
90, I mean, I can get you the specific math, but quickly 97% or something like that.
I think that's going to be the tricky part of messaging that to people, because if you ask most people what they consider public safety, they probably don't necessarily think of animal control right away. They definitely don't think of the UFA emergency manager contract.
Yeah, and I think you have to set the specific service when you set this kind of specific property tax. And so we could have said police, but because we've always paid these together as a department anyways, for both accounting and I think moving forward, and the way things are categorized when it comes to our financial statements, lumping them together as public safety is better. But I mean, the large majority,
Yeah. I would just caution, us elected officials, when people are reaching out to us, if they do, about the budget, not to say, UPD is 14.6 million this year.
Yeah.
Because that's what it'll say, and, that does include some other things that are not UPD related. So just something to think of when we do our communication plan with you, me, and Matt and Laura.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I think it's important to mention there are a few other aspects that the city deals with of public safety. Yeah. Any other questions?
No other questions, so we'll do two motions and roll calls here, both pertaining to the presentations Mariah just did. So the first motion is on the screen for council.
Mayor, I move we adopt Resolution 2025-R-41, adopting the certified property tax rate of Midvale City for calendar year 2025 and levying Midvale property taxes upon all real and personal property within the corporate boundaries of Midvale City, Utah for general operations.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, multiple seconds. Rory, will you call the yeas and nays?
Yes, Councilmember Glover.
Aye.
Robertson.
Aye.
Brown.
Yes.
Mikuláš.
Yes.
And Billings. Yes.
Okay, that passes unanimously. And magically, the second motion has appeared on the board for council.
Mayor, I move that we adopt ordinance 2025-0-12 proposing levying a Midvale City public safety property tax for calendar year 2025.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Rory, we call the yeas and nays.
Yes, Councilmember Robinson.
Aye.
Brown.
Yes.
Mikuláš.
Yes.
Billings.
Yes.
And Glover.
Aye.
Okay, that passes unanimously as well. We have two discussion items. First up, discuss criminal penalties in Midvale Municipal Code. And one of the most patient people in the audience tonight, Taj Carson from our legal department intern, and his father, Garrett Wilcox. No. Welcome, Taj. Welcome, Garrett.
So I just wanted to quickly introduce Taj to you in a more formal setting. Taj Carson is with us. He's a rising 3L student from the BYU Law School, where I happen to graduate, and we were lucky enough to have him reach out to us and want to come and extern with us. I use that term carefully. So Taj isn't being paid by us. He's getting school credit in exchange for this work experience, and so we're lucky enough to have him for a month. He is wanting to do prosecution. Our office, as jaded prosecutors, have done our best to convince him otherwise, but he's still continuing his path. So far, he's been helping Jared, our new prosecutor, in court, so he's done some observations. Last week, he got to be in the driver's seat of negotiating some resolutions to some traffic cases. Hopefully this week, he'll be doing a ride-along with Unified Police Department and having that experience of seeing what it's like to, from law enforcement side. His father is also currently law enforcement, but former local law enforcement and now is a federal marshal. This project that we've had him do is to go through our code. Our code is quite long, so it's more of he has surveyed our code to look at kind of a hybrid criminal civil project for us of looking at the criminal penalties within our code and identifying some areas that it is worth having a conversation with the city council. So with that, we're grateful for Taj and the time he's been spending here, and we're lucky to have him for about another week and a half before he goes to his real job of working with the state AG's office. So with that, I'll hand it over to Taj.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Garrett. You really made me sound great. Mayor, members of the City Council, thank you for your time tonight. Just real quickly, I just set the stage for you guys and let you know I'm going to go over real fast with you. I'm going to talk quickly about a couple of things, 5 different things. Your general penalty, the location of where the penalty section is throughout the municipal code, the redundancy that I see a little bit with state violations. I might talk a little bit about some of the classification of offenses and what that actually means, and what if the council would like to do with repeat offenders. And so we would just like to have a discussion with the council tonight and seek guidance from you guys on how to move forward. So this is the current general penalty in the Midvale Municipal Code. This is a bunch of fancy legal mumbo jumbo language. Basically all it means is that unless it says otherwise, that anything in this code is punishable as a Class B misdemeanor. Now, I know you guys are going to look at me and wonder, what is a Class B misdemeanor? Well, I wanted to show you guys a comparison next side by side, Class B, Class C misdemeanors, and then infractions, which are one step below misdemeanors. So a Class B misdemeanor, the easiest thing I can compare this to is a simple DUI, driving under the influence. So this is punishable by up to 180 days in jail and up to $1,000 in fines. So all of that, of course, is worked out within the Justice Court, and the court determines what the best possible sanction is and what best will serve the community. So as you'll see, a Class B is the most severe. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. A Class B is the most severe punishment that a city can impose. After that, it goes to a Class C, and then it goes down to an infraction. So I just wanted to give you guys a general guideline and keep that in mind as we talk about our discussion. And while I'm also discussing this, when
whenever there's a violation penalty inside of a different chapter, you see here I have weed control, property maintenance, and solid waste disposal and collection. I've just circled where the actual violation is located at, and it's just a little bit different in each section, which is completely fine. It's a total thing of preference, but that's one thing to keep in mind, just because it might be harder for someone who's not legally inclined or, just a member of the general public to see that and wonder, where does it actually say what violation could occur if this happens. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to stop me at any moment. So moving into my next point, there are certain violations that we have in the municipal code that are identical, if not very similar to the Utah State Code. So one of those being, I just put up a good example up here, which is failure to stop at the command of a peace officer. This is essentially evading arrest, evading a peace officer, evading a lawful order. And in the Utah Code is punished as a Class A misdemeanor, and the Midvale Municipal Code is punished as a Class B misdemeanor. So there's just a little bit higher penalty there. A Class A misdemeanor is punishable by up to 364 days in jail and a $2,500 fine. And that's something that's just a little bit different, and something that maybe the council can consider, that we could look at revising possibly the municipal code, or decide whether or not that's something that's needed. But that's something I would ask the council for guidance. And as far as the actual classification of certain offenses goes, I know weed control has been talked about a little bit tonight, so I'll try not to step on any toes. But currently, if your weeds are more than 6 inches tall, you are committing a Class B misdemeanor in Midvale. Meaning, if the judge is not very happy with you, you're going to be spending 180 days in jail. So that's one thing that I wanted to bring to the council's attention, just because I looked through it and I said, well, maybe that's something that people are very strong, will-minded about, but why does that keep happening to me? That's something to keep in mind, is that something, like weed control, I would just ask the council, what their thoughts are and how they think that should be punished, or what level of classification that should be punished as in the code. And that sort of leads into my next point. So Midvale currently does not punish repeat offenders differently. There is a provision in the general penalty that says that every day that a violation occurs, that constitutes a whole new violation. So someone's guilty of a Class B misdemeanor today for having their weeds more than 6 inches tall. Tomorrow, if they're still 6 inches tall, that's another Class B misdemeanors. So those are just, in theory, somebody could be charged 30 times with it within the course of a month. That probably wouldn't happen, obviously, but that's one thing that that I do see within the code. And so a way to address that potentially is doing something where you say, if someone does this multiple times, we're going to address it a different way. So it could start out as an infraction, it could start as a Class C, and it could move up, or it could stay the same. That's something that's completely within the purview of the council, and we would ask for the council's guidance as far as that goes. Now I moved pretty fast, and I apologize for that. It's all kind of fast. Are there any questions that any of you guys have for me?
You never need to apologize for being fast.
Especially at this time of the night. Any questions for Taj?
Good job. I was really focused so I could find something wrong and point out that you went to the wrong school, but I'm unable to do that. So good. It's a great job. I do have a question, and maybe it can be built into this project, and maybe this is for Garrett or whatever, is one thing I would like to do. I practice law too. So if we have a contract that we have a provision that we never enforce, I usually suggest to my client, take this out, right? Like sometimes, well, what if we do it? It's like, well, you have 500 of them, you've never done it. It causes this huge negotiation that doesn't go anywhere. So have we ever put someone in jail for weeds? That is a great question. I would defer to the city attorney. Just for that, do you know? Yeah, not yet.
Yeah, not yet. He's right here.
I think I would go with it depends. Has it been threatened? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, our process for enforcement, because we have both a civil route and a criminal route. Mm-hmm. So this is just on the criminal side of things. More often than not, prior to us using Unified Police Department, and now even with us using Unified Police Department for our code enforcement, that detective will first issue civil violations first and try and rectify it without having to take them in front of a court and charging them and affecting their criminal record. I am aware of at least one instance in which the weed violation was one of many violations that the civil process was unsuccessful in getting compliance. And so we did actually charge an individual with misdemeanor charges for the way that they were maintaining the property and the way that it was impacting their neighbors. Was it maybe some more of a threat than a reality? Probably, but the judge, because of the nature of the fact that this person we'd been working with for probably about a year's time and had failed to solve it civilly, and the property had gotten worse, it was something that the judge had thrown out in an effort to bring the property into compliance.
Yeah, and I feel like there was something in my neighborhood where I think like SWAT ended up coming in and stuff, but there was so many issues with other things in the property that I think a lot of things were piled on, right? So my thoughts were for something along those lines is maybe as a standalone thing, right? Like a lot of these things maybe shouldn't be jail worthy, but if there is a compounding effect, then there could be a reason, right?
Well, and I think to Taj's point, that's one thing that as he went through and surveyed the code that he came across is looking to the council to see if there's an appetite to maybe reduce some of the charges on some of these things. Because as you said, having Lieutenant Malone go out and arrest someone because their weeds are too tall for a first offense seems pretty extreme. But if this person we have been working with for over a year on the civil front, still can't get in compliance, and we've cited them with a lesser offense, would it be worth it to the city council to look at some sort of repeat offender enhanceability thing of, if we can't do it without the threat of jail, is there a line for the city council that's saying, $100 a day or whatever isn't enough to bring into compliance, and now we want to see you come into court and have the threat of jail time because of the impact you're having on the community or whatever it may be.
I mean, that makes a lot more sense to me than just to fire off a Class B misdemeanor for weeds, especially because I could probably drive down my street with a tape measure and find weeds that are 7 or 8 inches tall on a lot of people, and I'm not saying that negatively or the yards look great, but 6-inch weed can almost happen overnight. That's how weeds work, right?
Especially if it's Virginia creeper.
You're right. It takes over.
That'll come in your bedroom at night and strangle you.
Yeah, it's bad. So I think I'm open to, if we've never jailed anyone at the same time, as if it's not broke, but at the same time, we have an extern or whatever we're calling this position, intern, extern. If they can look at it and find areas where maybe like weeds, jail initially isn't the right thing, but a repeat offender or something along those lines, that it would, you still hold on to the Class B misdemeanor at a later time.
Yeah, I like that concept of enhanceability. I mean, obviously, for your first-time offender with 8-inch weeds, it probably shouldn't be in the back of a patrol car. But, if it's the 16th time that we've been out to that property, then, that becomes a consideration. There's also the folks, there are some infractions where if we're finding them a minimal amount of money and that's all we ever do, and whatever enterprise they have makes them more money than that fine, then, the simple math is there in their favor. So again, enhanceability to make that fine not just be the same $50 fine each and every time, but to be like, okay, now because this is your 3rd or 4th time, we're going up the ladder to the Class B. That makes sense to me. That gives us more power as a city to enforce the things that our residents want us to enforce.
And Mayor, that is a point well taken. I wish we could say that that has never happened in the city. But unfortunately, there have been instances in which some people have just said paying the fine and taking the ticket is the cost of doing business. And will just continue to violate anyways.
Any other questions for Taj or comments? Well, thank you. I think you did a wonderful job. If people haven't seen, Taj has been working in the Topaz Conference Room. We might rename that the Carson Conference Room, since that's where you did most of this work. But thank you for all the work you put into it. And please come back and visit us. I know you have a week or two left, but come back and visit anytime. We appreciate all the work that you did for us.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. It's nice to meet all of you.
Go Utes.
Oh, we had to get that in. We have one more discussion item tonight, and that is to discuss the fraud risk assessment, and coming back up for an unprecedented fifth time. No, you've done more. You've definitely done more. Mariah.
Yep, this is just required by the state auditor's office every fiscal year. They have made this list of best practices and we get scores for them. Our score has not changed from last fiscal year. We are in the very low category. There are only 10 points that we don't receive because we don't have an internal audit function, and that is because we don't have the staff capacity to do that. But we check all the boxes, and this just needs to be presented before you each fiscal year. Do any of you have any questions?
Any questions for Mariah? I will say of the multiple boards that I sit on now, I have been very impressed with our number being so high, and it also scares me. I won't mention any of these organizations where their number was in that moderate range.
I think my first year we were in that, but then it just we needed to put some of the written policies in place. We've got different staff that have different education levels and things like that. I mean, the really big one is the separation of duties, and that gives you those 200 points. The rest are just what the state auditor has put together, and they are important and easy to do, and it's good to have them in place. But I don't know that I believe any entity in the moderate zone is really at risk of having fraud. So
it's just nice being up here. And
it is, yes.
Yes,
we are in the very low risk
and
category.
Your staff.
Yep.
There are no questions for Mariah. We don't have a closed session tonight, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.